I just watched Dexter for the first time last year, and I can confidently say it's easily one of my favorite shows of all time. Probably just beneath The Walking Dead and Z Nation. There's a lot of Dexter content out there. You got the 8 seasons of the original show, 10 years later, 1 season of New Blood, 3 years later, 1 season of Original Sin, and this summer we'll also have 1 season of Resurrection. Since I've been on a bit of a binge on my channel reviewing Original Sin and making theory videos about Resurrection, I thought it'd be fun to rank every season of Dexter thus far. So seasons 1 through 8 plus New Blood, since Original Sin hasn't finished yet. After that is finished, I'll come back to this video and let you guys know where I would put it in the ranking. Alright, so my least favorite season of the entire show is one that I actually think a lot of people don't mind and think is an underrated season, and that is season 5. This season is basically just the aftermath of the Trinity Killer and the effect he had on Dexter, specifically by killing his wife Rita. Dexter is fucking destroyed, and we see him feel genuine emotions in episode 1. It's honestly probably the most depressing episode in the entire show and a very hard watch. The rest of the season is about Dexter finding this girl named Lumen, who was held hostage and repeatedly abused and assaulted and was about to be killed before Dexter found her. Dexter spends the entire season finding the people responsible and hunting them down one by one to avenge Lumen as a way to make himself feel better about what happened to Rita. And as a concept on paper, that sounds really good, but it is extremely underwhelming. The villains in here aren't interesting, specifically Jordan Chase as the main villain. He's like a famous motivational speaker that's secretly a creep, which is a cool new idea to introduce, but he wasn't scary or intimidating, just annoying. Lumen isn't a very interesting character either. Her line delivery is kinda stiff, and they don't give her much to do, besides being Dexter's moral support. The only thing good about this season is Quinn hiring someone to stalk Dexter and take notes on his personal life, but after he's mysteriously killed, Quinn backs off, partly from thinking Dexter could possibly be a killer, and also partly out of respect for Deborah because he was in love with her. Besides that, in episode 1, this entire season is just so forgettable. My next least liked season is the season that everyone on the planet hates, and that is season 8. Now, hear me out. This season ain't as bad as everyone paints it out to be. Basically, you got this psychologist named Dr. Evelyn Vogel who studies psychopaths, and she knows Dexter is a killer. We later discover that Harry went to her every time Dexter got worse as a kid, and she was the one who came up with the code. Her son, also known as the brain surgeon, was the villain of that season. And man, they gave jack shit to that actor. The actor himself was very good, but they gave him nothing to do besides killing people. But the way he would kill people is actually cool. His mother always told him that the piece of his brain that conveyed empathy was broken, so he would cut that part out of the brain of his victims and then mail them to Vogel. That's like the sickest concept ever, but that just went nowhere. This dude killed Vogel, as well as a kid named Zach, who was Dexter's apprentice, and this fucking dude had the killing shot on Deborah. They couldn't have at least had one of the better villains kill off so many main characters, or just make the villain way better and not lame as fuck. And speaking of which, I love that Quinn literally watched Dexter kill the brain surgeon, avenging Deborah, and he just lets it happen like a real homie. It was obviously self-defense. And I believe this is the season where Hannah McKay becomes a series regular, and she is no Rita. Sure, she matches Dexter's freak, if you know what I mean, but she's not one of my favorite characters. And man, don't even get me started on the finale, which I'm sure everyone has been waiting for me to go on a rant about. And you know what? Hot take, it ain't even that bad. On paper, it sounds like the perfect ending, but in the show, the execution is very rushed. Everyone around Dexter has perished in horrible ways because of who he is and the fact that he's a killer and he'll never be able to change. What other way to fix that than to send yourself into exile and go into hiding? It does make sense, but I wish there was more that led up to it because it just feels so random. I will say though, I think New Blood did a great job at redeeming that finale, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Now we're jumping up in quality a lot, and everything beyond this point is all seasons I actually really like. The next one on my list is season 3, which people also say is an underrated season, which is true. It's kind of the same situation as season 5, where season 1 and 2 are so adrenaline inducing, and their highs are so high that the season is very underwhelming. The season focuses on a DA named Miguel whose brother is accidentally killed by Dexter, so Dexter takes it upon himself to befriend Miguel out of guilt. Dexter teaches Miguel the code and tries to get Miguel to use the code for good like him, but he eventually takes it too far and starts killing innocent people and getting very power hungry. Miguel is also a very cool underrated character, but he's literally just Lila 2.0 from season 2. And what I mean by that is Lila very much was like, oh Dexter, I'm the only one who understands who you are. You don't have to hide your true self from me. I mean, that woman was psychotic, but Miguel is basically just if Dexter taught Lila the code. That's it. That's the entire season. Although this season is legendary for that one dumbass meme. They said that stain would come out. These next two seasons are pretty interchangeable, both are very solid. The next one I got is season 6, which is the religious season. This season you have the Doomsday Killer, who reenacts scenes from the Book of Revelation that lead up to the end of the world. A pretty solid season. I like the villain and the plot twist of how he has his own dark passenger telling him what to do, just like Dexter. I like the short addition of Brother Sam, a Christian and very kind and down-to-earth dude that befriends Dexter and gives him guidance throughout the season. I was actually very sad to see him die. And of course, the insane ass cliffhanger with Deborah walking in on Dexter killing the Doomsday Killer. And fun fact, the Doomsday Killer right-hand people, a deranged husband and wife. The husband's character name is Adam, and the actor actually was at a horror convention last week here where I live. I got a picture with him and his autograph. Really chill and nice dude. He told me what it was like to work with Michael C. Hall and how he's very stoic and kind of keeps to himself while he's on set. He also told me that the dude that plays the Doomsday Killer, who also fun fact is Tom Hanks' son, is a very nice and energetic dude, which is funny because it's always the nicest people that play the most deranged and unhinged characters on television. Anyways, the next season on my list is season 7, which again is pretty interchangeable with season 6. I think I like this season a little more because it kind of feels like it was supposed to be the end of the show, and there were a lot more stakes in this season. Deborah finally figures out Dexter's a killer, which is very cool to watch develop throughout the season, especially that scene where Dexter tells Deborah what his urge to kill feels like, and it's actually creepy as fuck.
It starts with blood. It fills me up. It feels like my head is going to explode. The only way to relieve the pressure is to open the floodgates. Let it spill out.
You're a sick fuck, Dexter. Jesus Christ.
Well, maybe we shouldn't talk about it.
I should have included that scene in my resurrection video now that I think about it. Check that video out, by the way. Anyways, yeah, you have LaGuerta at her prime this season with her following Dokes' steps from season 2 and trying to connect Dexter to the Bay Harbor Butcher. Everyone thinks she's fucking insane, especially Matthews, who warns her not to pursue this. And she should have taken his warning because we all know how it ends. With her tragically dying and Dexter trying to make her murder look like a shootout with criminals gone wrong. The only thing about this ending that I think is kind of stupid is that Deborah is forced between killing Dexter or LaGuerta. I think it would have made more sense logically if she just stood by and watched Dexter kill LaGuerta instead of getting involved in actually murdering LaGuerta dead. Another cool thing about this season is actually the villain, who's not even a villain. You get Isaac Serco, who's this mob boss that owns all the strip clubs in Miami. Dexter unknowingly kills Isaac's lover, so Isaac spends most of the season hunting Dexter down. Towards the end of the season, Isaac's turned on by his own organization and goes to Dexter for help. Isaac invites Dexter to a gay bar and gives this really nice speech about how love is complicated. He even tells Dexter that under different circumstances, they could have been great friends. In the final episode, Dexter and Isaac team up to take down Isaac's old right-hand man, and Isaac actually takes a bullet for Dexter and dies a very heroic death. Overall, super underrated character and underrated season. The next season on my list, I was actually debating putting higher, although the comments probably would have shot me on sight for that, but I have Dexter New Blood, aka season 9. I actually like this season more than most people. It's dark, dramatic, serious, visually beautiful looking, and has a very interesting story. This is Dexter 10 years later after exiling himself from Miami and going into hiding in countryside New York. Deborah's death fucked him up so bad that he hasn't killed anyone in a decade, and Deborah is now his dark passenger instead of Harry, and she is mean, fucked up, and twisted. The entire season, she's telling Dexter what a sick fuck he is, and if anyone gets close to him again, they'll end up dead, just like her. She knocks down his window in one scene, grabs him by the face, puts a bullet in his mouth in another, grabs him by the neck, points a gun at him in another scene, even straight up stabs him in one scene. She's unhinged and aggressive, and I love it. I love seeing a different version of Deborah that we've never seen before. I also really like the villain in here, Kurt Caldwell, played by Clancy Brown, who is known as the Runaway Killer, who is actually really intimidating even for an older killer. I like his origin story, I like his ritual in which he kills people, I love his confrontation with Dexter, especially when he figures out Dexter killed his son. Dexter just visibly shits his pants. I especially love the reveal of the Museum of Death, where he's just made decorative dolls out of everyone he's killed and set them up in an underground bunker. The only thing I didn't really like was the extremely rushed ending. They spent the whole season kind of saying, hey, Dexter isn't a bad guy, he's trying to be a better person. And at the end, it's just like, Dexter's evil, he's always been evil, now we're gonna kill him for being evil. It's like, fucking whoa, chill. Like, if we're gonna do the Breaking Bad ending but with Dexter, let's at least take the steps to get there and make Dexter the antagonist who deserves to be shot and killed. You know what I mean? Like, yes, Dexter is not a good guy. He's a psychopathic serial killer, but he hasn't reached the point where he's completely unredeemable yet. That's why I hope Dexter Resurrection makes Dexter the antagonist, which I talked more in depth about in one of my previous videos. This next season is actually most of people's number one, and that is season 4. Need I say anything about this season? It's literally one of the most iconic seasons of television history, with John Lithgow as the Trinity Killer. I mean, shit, bro won a fucking Emmy for his performance in this season. Not only is this dude the scariest killer in the entire series, the show literally gives you anxiety every time he's on screen. Not many actors can bring that kind of presence to a role like he did. Overall, great season with Dexter learning how to be a father and Dexter thinking he can learn something from Trinity instead of just killing him, which leads to the tragic death of Rita. And a return to one of my favorite characters, Lundy, who gets fucking annihilated by Trinity's surprise daughter. But speaking of Lundy, the next season on my list is season 2. Speaking of iconic, this one is up there with 4. This entire season is about the rivalry between Dokes and Dexter, which is every Dexter fan's favorite thing about the OG show. I mean, the few episodes we see where Dexter holds Dokes hostage and Dokes is desperately trying so many different ways to make Dexter let him go, while Dexter is trying to explain to him why he's the way he is.
Don't worry, Sergeant. I won't make you watch. I'm not uncivilized.
Morgan, no! Morgan!
That's gotta be one of my favorite Dexter lines ever. It's cold as fuck. You also got Lila in here, manipulating Dexter and being the most toxic, crazy ex I've ever seen on television. Talk about psychotic. This woman fucked Dexter and then tried to burn Rita's 2 kids in a house fire the next day. She also blew up Dokes, thinking it was helping Dexter, but Dexter just kills her for it because at that point she fit the code by killing an innocent. Karma is a bitch, and so was Lila. Nah, I'm just kidding. Great actress though. And to finish this off, to no one's surprise, I got season 1, baby. Everything about this season is literally perfect. From the insane pilot and the perfect introduction of Dexter as a character, while also staying true to the books. The Ice Truck Killer is my personal favorite villain, and he's honestly the most creepy out of every killer besides Trinity. The game of cat and mouse he and Dexter played together leading up to the reveal of him being Dexter's long-lost brother is just perfect. The entire ending of Dexter having to choose between Deborah or Brian is just sad. Like, this dude is the villain, and yet you still cry for him when Dexter inevitably chooses Deborah over him and kills him because he's too far gone. I would have loved to see them spare Brian like they do in the books and keep him around as Dexter's devil on his shoulder while Deborah is the angel. But I think sparing him would have undid all the character development Dexter goes through that entire season. So it's ultimately the better choice from a writing standpoint. You also got the birth of the most iconic meme in the world from this season. Surprise, motherfucker. But yeah, that's my list. Let me know if my list is pretty good or dumb as hell. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts in the comments. And also, this video was edited by my good friend and unpaid intern, B-Show. I'll link his channel in the description and leave it as the top comment. He makes deep dive analysis videos on movies and TV shows, and his style is really cool because he uses a 3D model as his character and he built the whole set in Blender for it. It's pretty dope. But yeah, thanks for watching.